She said something that made your stomach clench, but you don't understand why. On the surface, it seemed innocent, perhaps even caring. But inside, something is screaming wildly. You were just lied to. You push the thought away, convincing yourself it's just paranoia, that you're thinking too much again. Your inner voice, your primal instinct, is trying to break through your self-deceptive calm, but you choose to silence it. When you ignore this anxious feeling, you are voluntarily consenting to your own vulnerability. Your subconscious knows the truth your mind refuses to admit. Words are never just words. Every phrase, every fleeting or accidental comment she makes, is clear data revealing who she really is and what she thinks of you. Right now, you are failing her test because you don't even realize you are being tested at all. Her communication is not yours. When she speaks, she's not just transmitting information, she is setting frames, testing boundaries, and exposing her deeply held beliefs about you. That passing comment about your friend's car, that joke about your career, that comparison to an ex, these are not accidents. They carry a hidden charge, designed to calibrate your behavior. They are windows into her operating system, and most men are too blinded by attraction, or too desperate, to look into them. They prefer to see the perfect image they've painted for themselves, rather than the harsh reality she's broadcasting. You ignore these verbal red flags because she's beautiful, because you're afraid of being alone again. You excuse the disrespect, rationalize the manipulation, pretending those pointed words don't mean what they obviously mean. You become the lawyer for your own destroyer. But while you play this game, she is showing you who she is. You simply choose not to see it. Men who crash in relationships are not victims of deception. They are volunteers who ignored the warnings that have been sounding since day one. They heard the truth but decided their desire was more important than their dignity. Phrase number 1. You're too sensitive. The gaslighting reset. This is the first tool in her arsenal, and it's so subtle you'll thank her for hitting you with it. You're too sensitive. 3 words that instantly flip the script. A second ago, she did something that hurt you. Her fault was obvious, but now it has evaporated. Now, suddenly, you are the problem because you are hurt. Your legitimate complaint has turned into a reason for self-flagellation, and you begin to doubt the adequacy of your own reaction. See how this trick works. She's 45 minutes late for dinner. You sit there waiting, like an idiot, checking your phone for the 100th time. When she finally shows up, there's no real apology, just a careless, "Traffic was awful. You mentioned that you waited, and a text would have been nice." And then she drops it. "God, you're too sensitive. I can't be perfect all the time." She uses a supposed admission of her own imperfection to devalue your feelings. In that moment, all her lateness vanishes, and the focus shifts entirely to your inadequate reaction. Did you notice? You transitioned from a legitimate complaint to doubting your own reaction. She turned her disrespect into your character flaw. Now you're apologizing for bringing it up. You're consoling her about how hard her day was. She makes you feel guilty for setting personal boundaries. She is training you that her comfort is always more important than your needs. This isn't about one dinner. It's about programming you to stop trusting your own feelings. Every time she dismisses your emotions as sensitivity, she's conditioning you to stop barking when boundary violators show up. Your standards become unreasonable demands. What's happening in her head? She knows she crossed a line. She knows she should apologize. But an apology is an admission of guilt. An admission of guilt is a loss of power. Therefore, she makes your reaction the problem. This is psychological judo, using your emotional weight against you. The goal is achieved. She avoided responsibility, and you feel guilty. She masterfully uses your desire to be good and understanding against yourself. Phrase number 2. You should be more like that guy in my office. Control through insecurity. Once she's trained you to doubt your feelings and emotions, she moves to the second phase, making you doubt your identity. She lays cracks in your foundation so that at any moment you feel unworthy. You should be more like that guy in my office. He never misses the gym. This isn't a casual comment. It's a carefully aimed shot that destroys your self-esteem and undermines your status. You begin to evaluate yourself through her eyes, through the lens of this perfect, yet non-existent competitor. This is it, the comparison. She has just pitted you against another man and publicly declared that you fall short. But the worst part is she'll present it as motivation, as if she's helping you become the best version of yourself, as if comparing you to her colleague is an expression of love. She wraps criticism in the guise of caring, so you can't accuse her of malice. In reality, she's simply using another figure to control your behavior and keep you on edge. She creates an unhealthy, competitive environment within your relationship. What she actually said: I think about other men, I evaluate them, I measure you against them, and you're losing. Every comparison is an unspoken admission that her eyes are wandering, and she is actively looking for a replacement. She's not just criticizing, she's testing her potential options, using you as a base, losing standard. Every comparison is an admission that she is looking around, that you are not her first choice, but merely the current one, until something better comes along. A woman who respects you does not compare you to anyone because she is not constantly evaluating. A respectful woman has made her choice and does not question it by using other men as leverage. She chose you. Period. Her unspoken rule is, if you're not the best, you must strive to become it, but not for yourself, for her. The moment you start competing with these phantoms is the moment she loses attraction to you, because you've transitioned from partner to candidate. Phrase number 3, I don't need you. Declaration of dominance. Trapped in the pursuit of her approval, after doubting your feelings and your worth, she launches the ultimate option, disguised as female independence. I don't need you. She'll say this during an argument to inflict maximum damage, or even worse, casually toss it out over coffee as if discussing the weather. This blow is struck when you least expect it, and it immediately changes the rules of the game. Your heart gives a painful lurch because you realize you can be easily discarded. This jab makes you feel temporary and insignificant. And you are expected to admire her independence, respect her strength, and believe it's a sign of a healthy personality. She demands you applaud your own devaluation. You are obliged to accept this phrase as a virtue, not a threat. But she didn't say, I want to be with you, or I choose you. She said, need. In a relationship, this is the key word denoting not attachment, but dependence, which she rejects. By declaring she doesn't need you, she has shown your place in her hierarchy, somewhere between optional and replaceable. She made it clear that your contribution is essentially insignificant to her survival or happiness. This is not a declaration of independence. It is an establishment of dominance. She is letting you know, while you're comparing yourself to her colleague, doubting yourself, and chasing her approval, she's already halfway out the door. She preemptively removes all responsibility for the future, shifting it onto you. She intentionally creates emotional distance to protect herself from any potential pain, but she does it at your expense. The relationship has become a business transaction where all the leverage is hers, and you are desperately trying to prove your worth. Her statement strips you of all bargaining power. At this moment, you transform from a partner into an applicant, constantly interviewing. After these words, you will begin to hypercompensate, doing more, giving more, trying to become necessary. She, however, will withdraw, become cold. Why? Because you cannot value what you do not need. Your persistence will only confirm her correctness and kill the remnants of attraction. It's a vicious cycle where your devotion only increases her detachment. She achieves control by making you constantly fear being fired from the relationship. Phrase number 4, if you loved me, you would. Emotional blackmail. At this point, she turns your love into a weapon against you. If you loved me, you would. This is the most insidious and mean-spirited of all manipulative constructs, as it attacks the very essence of your relationship. The second part of the phrase doesn't matter. She might ask you to skip a friend's wedding, give up your hobby, move, or forgive infidelity. The point is not the request. The point is that she has just put your love on trial, appointing herself judge and jury. She shifts the focus from the subject of the dispute to the depth of your feelings, making you guilty by default. She forces you to prove your loyalty at the cost of your interests. You either agree or instantly turn into an unloving egoist. You are constantly in a situation where your sincerity is questioned, and this is exhausting. This is emotional blackmail disguised as a relationship test. She is essentially holding your affection hostage. She takes your feelings captive and demands a ransom. Pay by doing what she wants, or she will execute your love in the court of her opinion. Your compliance becomes her triumph. This undermines the very foundation of trust, turning your relationship into a constant game of survival. She makes you believe that proving your feelings requires sacrifices and complete submission. She knows you love her, and that is why this works. She uses your strongest emotion to bypass your common sense, your boundaries, and your self-respect. The outcome: every time you concede, you teach her that emotional manipulation works, that your boundaries are negotiable. She will use this tool again and again, demanding more and more. At first, it's small things, but over time the stakes increase, and she will start demanding the abandonment of parts of your identity. Your desire to be a good man becomes her primary leverage. True love never requires proof through sacrifice and ultimatums. Love should not be a probationary period. It should be a refuge, not a conflict zone where you constantly have to prove your worth. In a healthy relationship, there are no ultimatums, only mutual respect and a willingness to compromise. Phrase number 5. You're lucky to be with me. Superiority and contempt. After manipulating your emotions, sowing doubt in your adequacy, and judging your love, she delivers the verdict on your worth. You're lucky to be with me. This sounds like a careless compliment, but it's actually the final chord in the dismantling of your self-respect. She solidifies the idea of her own superiority in your mind. It sounds like confidence, perhaps even a playful joke, but it's actually contempt hidden under the guise of self-sufficiency. She clearly designates her position as higher and yours as lower. She demands that you accept this imbalance as a given. She doesn't say, "We're both lucky to have found each other," which would imply equality and mutual value. She establishes a unilateral hierarchy where she sits at the top, and you are a lottery winner who barely deserves this prize. And you'd better not forget that you won. You must be constantly grateful that she allowed you into her world. This is not a partnership. Instead, it is a master-servant dynamic wrapped in a romantic veneer. It's a hierarchy where you must be grateful to be permitted to exist in her presence. Your job is not to relax and constantly prove you are worthy of this luck. The hidden meaning: you owe me. This means that normal relationship expectations do not apply to her because she is doing you a favor. She can treat you however she wants because you should simply be thankful that she is even here. She rewrites the history of your relationship, turning her every minimal gesture into an act of charity. She is not your partner. You are her charity project. Your own efforts, sacrifices, and achievements are instantly devalued, as all success boils down to her grace. The moment you hear this, understand that she has forfeited any right to mutual respect. This phrase makes you afraid of losing this lucky ticket and robs you of the right to complain or demand equality. Your life with her is not a reward for your efforts, but an undeserved gift. This statement serves as a psychological anchor, permanently fixing you in a subordinate role. You value every little thing from her because she has made you believe you are not worthy of such attention. It ensures that you will settle for less and fear asking for more, lest you risk being fired from your lucky position. Phrase number 6. I didn't know you'd change so much. Blame shifting. After all the previous phrases have destroyed your self-esteem and boundaries, she moves to the final, largest manipulation. I didn't know you'd change so much. This phrase is uttered the moment you finally try to stand up for yourself, reclaim lost boundaries, or leave the relationship. She not only denies her responsibility for your degradation, but also accuses you of becoming different, in other words, of becoming bad. This sounds like a sad, even nostalgic reproach, but it is the purest form of gaslighting. She erases the entire history of her manipulations. You're too sensitive, the comparison to the colleague. I don't need you, the love blackmail, and you're lucky to be with me. All this psychological warfare disappears. Now you are to blame. You are no longer the great guy you were at the beginning. The real meaning: I created and controlled a man who accepted my disrespect. Now you are rebelling against my control, and this proves that you are irrevocably flawed. She doesn't admit that you changed for the better. You simply stopped being convenient. The goal of this phrase is to make you doubt reality. You know you changed, but you changed because she methodically destroyed your boundaries. Now, she uses this change as proof of your toxicity or instability. She makes you think, maybe she's right, maybe I have become angry and uncontrollable. The consequences: you fall into the trap of guilt. Instead of leaving, you start desperately trying to prove you're still the same meaning. You revert to the role of the convenient man she molded with the first 5 phrases. This guarantees her victory and your complete capitulation. She didn't change. You broke under the pressure, and now you are to blame for trying to fix yourself. She shifts all responsibility for the emotional climate in the relationship onto you. Love without respect is just emotional dependence. Forget about partnership. You are in a painful attachment, the foundation of which is the fear of loss. You can love a person who methodically takes you apart, but respect exists only between equals, and its absence is an absolute, non-negotiable death sentence. If she uses these 6 phrases, she does not see you as an equal. In her eyes, you are not a person, but a resource, a pawn in a game she created herself. She sees you as her subordinate. Remember this once and for all: respect either exists or it doesn't. There is no third way. These 6 phrases form a relentless psychological combo attack that systematically zeroes out your value using your attachment. She starts by devaluing your feelings with, "You're too sensitive," so you stop trusting your intuition. Then, she compares you to others, "Be like that guy," so you feel inadequate and start desperately competing for her attention. Once assured of your insecurity, she declares she doesn't need you by throwing out, "I don't need you," so you feel replaceable and start hypercompensating for your significance. Following that, she manipulates your love using the blackmail, "If you loved me," so you submit to her demands. When you are completely broken, she reminds you how lucky you are by saying, "You're lucky to be with me," so you never ask for more and accept a low status. And finally, when you try to resist, she finishes you off with the accusation of change. "I didn't know you'd change so much," to shift the blame for all the emotional damage she inflicted onto you. This is a comprehensive system of control that turns you into an obedient executor of her desires. The relationship doesn't slowly fade when she says these things. It is already completely destroyed and beyond repair. These phrases are simply the autopsy report of your connection. You are just walking around in a dead relationship, pretending there's still life in what is decomposing from the inside. You are wasting your precious life trying to resuscitate what has already ceased to exist, instead of building something real. Your action is simple and radical. Stop accepting verbal disrespect disguised as female communication. This is not just how women talk, or "she's just joking." This is how toxic people reveal their true nature, showing that their internal hierarchy places them above you. Your job is to protect your peace, your dignity, and immediately walk away from anyone who speaks to you as if you are beneath them. Which of these 6 phrases hurt you the most? Share your story in the comments. Subscribe to the Psycheria channel so you don't miss new videos. See you soon.